For my 1 year anniversary of the Feel Good Frequency, I answer your questions next.
Good vibes are on the way.
I love the feel good stories.
Oh, there'll be sarcasm mixed in, but that just adds to her charm.
So great. I love listening.
Welcome to Erin O'Malley's Feel Good Frequency.
Hi, welcome back to Erin O'Malley's Feel Good Frequency. I'm Erin. Welcome to the 1 year anniversary episode of this podcast. I had asked for any questions you have for me, and that's what we're going to do today because I thought, when I have guests on, I'm always focused on them, and sometimes I'll thread in stories here and there, but I thought maybe it would be a good idea for you to get to know me better, and this is a good way to do it. I got lots of cool questions, so I'm just going to start running them down and telling the stories that go along with them, and thanks for joining me today. All right, Jean, why did you leave Mix? I miss your show. I wanted to start with that one because it's the easiest one. So I did not choose to leave the radio station. The radio station chose to leave me. No, I'm just kidding. It was a corporate cut kind of thing. And it was not anything I saw coming, which is ironic because all the years I was in radio, I was at that station in Boston for 24 years. Every day I'm like, I'm going to get fired. Today's going to be my last day. When you love something that much, you are always thinking, uh-oh, it's going to go away. And then I'm not kidding you. I had just done this whole big promotion through my show about going to Jamaica. I gave away a bunch of trips. And not even a week after I gave away the last two trips, I get called into the boss's office, and that was it. So I did not expect that. The one time that I felt comfortable was the time it was a bye-bye. But thank you for missing me, and I miss you too, and I'm grateful that you have shuffled over here to the podcast to hang out with me more. Okay, this is from Sharon. If you could interview anyone in the world, who would you select? I don't know if I could do just one answer to this because I have a list, but the first person that pops in my head because of what this podcast is all about is Taylor Swift. And I say that because I remember hearing about Taylor a long, long time ago, and she just came across as the kindest person, would always write thank you notes to people, especially anyone that gave her a little gift when they got to meet her, that kind of thing. And she still does that. And I hear so many people saying negative things about her, and it kind of bums me out because she truly seems to be the same person she was way back when. She still writes those thank you notes. She still seems so appreciative and is really spreading joy. She didn't have to do the things that she did on the Eras tour. All the bonuses she gave to all of the dancers and the drivers, all the truck drivers, they all got bonuses, and just the thank you notes that she writes. Every place she stopped in, she donated hundreds and thousands of dollars to their food banks. That's a great person. And so, yeah, she is an absolute dream guest. I would love to just speak with her and really thank her for doing the kind things she does. If I had to pick somebody else, it would be Mackenzie Scott. That's her name, right? Mackenzie Scott. She used to be married to Jeff Bezos. She has given so much money away. And she's not just the ex-wife of Jeff Bezos. That's how people know her, but she started at Amazon very early on. She's an author, and she's such a philanthropist. Oh my gosh. I think she's worth, I want to say 30 or 40 billion with a B dollars. She's given away close to 20 of it already and counting. Every time, and very quietly, I'm always looking for stories of people that are doing good things. And sometimes I'll catch, oh, Mackenzie Scott just donated another $10 million to this organization. And there's never any strings attached. It's just she finds places that are doing great things, and she's like the female Santa Claus. So, yes, I would love to have her on because I'm absolutely so in awe of her and the good that she's doing with what she has. Nora, of all the people you have interviewed, who is the best, the hardest? Okay, so there's a couple questions there, and then the one you want next. All right, so I'm gonna break this up into the radio portion and then now. So the best I ever interviewed in radio, Steve Perry. It's very hard to top that experience I had with Steve Perry. He's an incredible human. I will say Pink, because I interviewed her a couple times, I would I would put her at the top of the list. She is so genuine, and the more fame she got, it didn't affect at all how she was. If anything, it just made her even more chill and cool and just honest, and I love that about her. I think that she is a fantastic interview because she doesn't BS you, and she's just confident. She's somebody you wanna go have a beer with, and I love a woman that's like that. I have such a good respect for her and what she's done, and my gosh, have you seen her in concert now? She flies all over the place. She's just so Cirque du Soleil. I'm in awe of Pink, so I would definitely say her. The hardest the hardest interview. Oh, okay, so in the early days of my career at Mix, my big boss had asked if I would go to Vegas to interview Sarah McLachlan. Now, here's why I say this is the hardest. She's awesome. Nothing having to do with Sarah herself, but the experience is why this was the hardest. It was a live interview that was nationwide. 25 stations were carrying it. And in between the interview, she was going to play some songs and we were going to get questions from people in the audience. But more importantly, we were taking phone calls from people all across the country live that wanted to get on the air with Sarah. So I was paired with somebody that I did not know. I met him when I got there, and the two of us were going to do this whole thing. And I had studied so much about Sarah McLachlan that I pretty much knew everything except maybe her blood type. I knew everything about the Lilith tour and how many women she had gotten together for it and how she asked them all to be part of it and the money that was earned and the charities that were helped and everything. And when I asked him like, "Oh, where are your notes?" He's like, "Oh, I don't have any notes. I just kind of wing it." And I was like, "But it's a nationwide kind of thing. You don't have any notes?" He's like, "No, no, no. I'll be fine." I'm like, "Okay." So we start this, and not only are there people listening around the country, we have about 300 people inside this. I want to say it was the Joint. Was that the name of it? It was one of the clubs inside of the Hard Rock Hotel and Cafe in Vegas. And we start everything off, and he kind of takes over and introduces all of us. And I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be just fine. And he starts interviewing people in the audience, kind of, hey, you had a question for Sarah. What's your name? Where are you from? That sort of thing. Well, there were only 3 questions from the audience. Everything else was supposed to be from people all around the country. And he decided 7 minutes into this that he could not do that. Took his headphones off and said, "You need to do it. I can't listen to people talking in my ear like that when I'm trying to talk to Sarah at the same time." And I said, "But that's what we're supposed to do for the rest of the time." He's like, "I can't do it. You got to do it." So for the next 53 minutes, I was in charge of this massive interview and performance, and it went great. I mean, thankfully, I was over prepared, and I'm here to tell you that is when I learned that you can't over prepare in life because you never know what's going to happen. But it was definitely the hardest because in that moment, I could have had a massive panic attack and been like, "Nope, can't do this." But obviously, I'm glad that I was able to handle that when I thought I'd have somebody else to lean on and didn't. But afterward, my boss even came over to me and was like, "Wow, am I glad that you were the one that I chose to do this because you absolutely saved the day." So, yeah, that's why it was the hardest. Now for the podcast, who's been the best? Oh. That's impossible to answer, and it's the greatest reason why, because everyone that's been on this podcast is somebody that I found and I wanted to have on, and I wanted to talk to and get to know and wanted you to know. That's the coolest part about this. I don't have a booking agent or, anyone doing marketing or this is just a one-woman show, kids. Do I want a marketing person? Would I love to have a booking? Oh, yes. By the way, that'd be swell. Maybe someday. Yeah, they've all been awesome. And I mean, I've had people on that I never thought I would be able to chat with. I have maybe 75 pieces of Life is Good clothing. And I had the co-founder of Life is Good on the Feel Good Frequency, John Jacobs. What a guy. Elizabeth Smart was on with me, and the way that she has really become such an incredible woman, taken something awful that happened to her as a kid and turned it into really her purpose and to help other women through things that they're going through. I have so much respect for her. But everyone that's been on is just, they blow me away. They're finding just their own unique ways to make life better and the world better. And I love them all for coming on and sharing that because it's made all the difference. It's so fun. I love doing this. It's just the best. Okay, let's see, what was the hardest? Oh, so with the podcast, I will absolutely say the hardest interviews to do are the ones with people who have lost someone they love. Oh my gosh, I've cried right along with moms on this, and the fact that so many of them have found a way to continue on that person's legacy that they lost. It's so beautiful. It's so heartwarming to take the biggest loss of your life, the worst pain, and find purpose in it. Keep that person's name and spirit alive by helping others through a foundation or a nonprofit that they started with that person's name on it is so admirable. And I'm blown away every time any of them come on with me and speak about what they're doing and what they've done to keep that spirit alive. But they're definitely the hardest because I want to go through the camera and hug these people. The one I want next is whatever great story comes next. That is absolutely what I want. Whatever great human awesome story I can find is the one that I want next. But I'm still not giving up on Drew Barrymore, I will tell you, because we had quite a cool connection when I met her in New York City, and someday I still hope to have her on here without getting a restraining order put out on me. I haven't been stalking her, don't worry, I'm just kidding, but yeah, I still would really like to talk to Drew. Okay, so next question. This is Jen. With a year under your belt, what have you learned about yourself during this time and what has changed from the beginning? So, uh, I've learned that I can do this and I'm no longer faking it until I make it because in the beginning I was completely clueless. I had never even been on a podcast, let alone done one myself. And I did it. Yeah, I mean, I've done it every single week without 1 week off. This entire year, I've managed to do this, and I'm really proud of it because everyone that has been on has been an inspiration, and they're sharing something so important, and they're taking time out of their lives to be on with me, and I'm grateful for every single one of them. I've also learned that because not everything has been easy. I can tell you stories. I'm writing a book. I'm pretty resilient. And many times, and this is something I've learned over and over again, something that seems like it is the absolute end and devastating and something you didn't want to happen at all can end up being what teaches you who you are and what guides you to where you're meant to be next. And that is what happened and what I've learned over this past year. When I moved to Vegas for my one of my big breaks in radio. I was on after Howard Stern every day. My mom gave me a card and I never forgot it. I actually have it framed it's in my bedroom closet and it says, "When you come to the end of all of the light you've known, faith is knowing one of two things will happen. Either there will be something solid for you to stand on or you'll be taught how to fly." And so I never forgot that. I love that whole saying, and I'm flying, baby. I'm flying. Next up is from Alex. Can you share a moment in your journey that really shaped who you are today and how it influences what you teach or share now? I did talk about this, I want to say my first episode, maybe second episode. My best friend passed away when we were 22. Best friend from childhood, Allison, from lupus. She had what the doctor said was the worst case they had ever seen. She was in the hospital for a couple different surgeries and was actually supposed to be released to go home on Sunday, and instead that's the day she passed away. A couple days before that, I went in just to visit her, and in the middle of talking about some of the pain she was in, she stopped and looked at me and said, "Why aren't you in radio? It's all you've ever wanted to do since we were kids. What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, what if I suck? It's all I've ever wanted to do. Yeah, but what if I start and I'm no good?" And she goes, "What if you're 40 with 3 kids and you never tried? You will hate yourself. Besides, you are not going to suck. You're going to be great." And that was one of the last things she ever said to me. And at the time, I was working at Together Dating Service. Oh, yes, kids. Before Tinder and Plenty of Fish and Match, there were dating services, and I was a salesperson. So I had graduated from college May of that year. This was in the fall, and it took about a month and a half for me to get over the shock of losing her. And I walked in one day and said, "I'm done with Together here." And I left. And the very next day, I had a job in radio. So that really shaped me. Something else that I've given credit to mom before, and I will do it again. And that is when I was 12 and first figured out that I wanted to be in radio. I told her, and her first initial reaction, that knee jerk reaction, she said, "Why don't you do something that has more of a career path, like be a nurse or a teacher? There's no real way to get into that. So many people want to do it." And I was so deflated. I remember thinking, "Oh my God, if my mom doesn't even think I can do it, I don't have a prayer." And I went upstairs to my bedroom and I was just kind of sulking and ugh, I was just devastated. Maybe 10 minutes later, she knocks at my door and says, "I've been thinking about it. And why couldn't you be one of the ones that make it?" Oh, that was it. That was all I needed. I was full speed ahead from then on. And that was one of the best parenting moves she ever did. Because you at least want your family to believe in you, your parents, your mom, your dad, to believe in your dreams. And I don't know where I'd be if she didn't knock on that door. I'm glad she did. And also, I just kind of wanted to add to this too, which shaped who I am and influences and what I saw and that kind of thing. So when I did move to Vegas, I did not know anyone there. I moved sight unseen, never ever been there before in my life. And back when I lived there, this is how long ago it was. They were filming the movie Con Air. I'll never forget it. I'm at a stoplight one night and I look over and there's a trailer pulling John Cusack and Nicolas Cage on motorcycles right next to me. It was crazy. But when I lived there, I really did not like living in Vegas. I was 23, I think, at the time. So it was fun and woohoo, good time to live there. But that was also when everything was coins and you couldn't walk into a grocery store or a gas station or even the pharmacy without hearing clink, 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 clink from all of the slot machines. So after a while, that just got to you. But I also took chances. I was in a bad way financially because I was not getting paid anywhere near what I should have been paid. And I was eating around the mold in the bread sometimes because I just didn't have the money. But I didn't quit. And there were times when I just did not want to stay. And I thought, how in the world am I going to survive this? This is really tough. I was selling CDs to eat. There were times that I had to do that. And I never gave up though. And I feel like that is such an important part of molding me into who I've become and who I am. And that is that I'm a big believer in following your dreams and sticking to them as best as you possibly can. And it's funny, I have so many stories about living there. As miserable as I was, I have so many stories about living there. One of which is I used to open for Joe Rogan at the Riviera Hotel and Casino. I know this is insane, and I kind of forgot about it for a while until I was ironically looking into how to do podcasts, and he's so madly popular, and it made me laugh because I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I remember him doing stand-up comedy at the Riviera Hotel and Casino, and I would open for him. I emceed the show, I should say. But the reason I say open is because the guy in charge of the entertainment division of that casino would always make me tell jokes first. He's like, "I need you to be the opener." And I was like, "Steve, I just want to get up there and MC. Don't make me tell jokes. I am not a comedian." He's like, "Well, you got to become one because I want you to do this. And I like having you here, but I need you to try to be funny." Do you know how hard it is to try to be funny? I have such respect for every comedian. I hated it. But again, I loved doing that appearance, and Steve always paid cash. So it was kind of a good little thing to do on a Friday night. But I can't remember how many times I opened for Joe and MC'd and stuff, but it was a couple times. I would love to chat with him now and see if he remembers. I know he remembers all the stuff at the Riviera itself because I've seen an interview and heard him talk to Steve. Steve, the guy that was in charge of the entertainment there, is Steve Sharippa, who went on to become an actor himself and was Bobby on The Sopranos. Season 2, he started on The Sopranos. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, "Steve? Steve's on The Sopranos? What?" And that was pretty neat, but yeah, I met a bunch of cool characters when I lived there and had a lot of fun despite the bread situation. Okay, so Terry, what are some exciting things you have planned for the podcast coming up? So I'm definitely going to do the whole New York City thing again this summer, I believe. I haven't figured out the dates. I want to do another on the road kind of show. I did that when I went to Cancun. I recorded some people, and I think that's a fun thing to do, just to stop people and ask about something great that's happened to them or something good that they did to help somebody else, because that's so unscripted, and I love hearing answers like that, and I really had such a great experience last time in New York that I think that it's calling me to go there again. So I'll do that this summer. Also, I'm ordering new swag for the show. I've actually had a lot of people ask if they can buy a shirt or something. And I don't see myself like selling anything, but everybody that comes on the podcast, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before, but I always send them gifts for being on the podcast. They don't know they're getting it. I'm always at the end like, "Can I have your address? I'd like to send you something." And I send thank you cards and then some sort of swag from the show. And I have ball caps and winter beanies and baseball shirts, and I have speakers and bags and different things like that. So I'm going to add some summer stuff, and I'm going to do a giveaway or a couple giveaways probably. I just have to figure out how to do that giveaways, that is, on a podcast, because so like I could take caller 10 or something. So once I figure out the logistics of that, I'm going to do that as well. And I did just completely revamp my website because I started really looking at it and pulling it apart. And I'm like, this is redundant. I don't need all of this stuff in here. But when I first started this, I paid a company to put the website together because I'm not technically inclined whatsoever. But I was up until 3 o'clock in the morning last night, and I'm sure I look like it too, figuring out how to make the website better. And so I got a lot of old stuff out of it and redid pictures and that kind of thing. And yeah, so I figured it out. It took me about 17 hours because I started at 7 or 8 in the morning and had a little bit of a break here and there. But yeah, 17 hours later, Erin O'Malley's frequency.com is refreshed and ready to go. So I'm sure I'll have other little goodies and surprises, but that's just off the top of my head right now. Mike. Hi, Mike. What musical artist surprised you the most in terms of having a good heart? This is super easy. And I think I mentioned his name a little bit ago here, but Steve Perry. So I can't say enough great things about that man. And I mean, I've always loved Journey, but to actually get to know him, because it wasn't just an interview, I felt like I really got to know who he is a little bit. And what a good heart. He's just a great man. So let me take you back. It was 2018. I was in the very end of my chemo treatments, very bald. And Steve, I want to say maybe earlier that year, had lost his girlfriend to breast cancer. And her name was Erin. And he wanted to honor her by doing different fundraisers and things for breast cancer awareness and research. And so he was in Boston and I got to interview him. And it was a very intimate interview. It was in a room with maybe, I want to say 70 people. He was so honest and open about losing his girlfriend and how he took her to treatment over and over again, the best places in the world to get treatment, and nothing was making it go away. And one of the things during the interview, his phone rang. And I remember thinking, this is really weird because he's answering the phone during the interview with like 70 something people watching us. And so he answers it and he goes, "Oh, hold on. She's right here." And he goes, "It's for you." I'm like, what are you talking about? So he's very good friends with Patty Jenkins, who is the director of the Wonder Woman movies. And he had told her about me and how he had heard about me before we actually did the interview where I dressed up as Wonder Woman for every chemo treatment. And he knew that I was a big fan. And so he had Patty call during the interview so I could talk to her. And Patty was overseas in the middle of filming Wonder Woman 1984 while we were doing this big interview. And she stopped the set to call me. And I'm talking to her, flipping out, and she said, "We all know about what you've done and your costume and your battle with breast cancer, and we are all pulling for you and praying for you." And I later found out that Steve was trying to get me to go there. He was working with Patty to try to get me a walk-on role in Wonder Woman. And unfortunately, the timing wasn't gonna work because less than 2 weeks later, I had my double mastectomy and I wasn't gonna be able to travel. But the fact that he even thought to do that and was trying to get the logistics together for me, this is what I mean by he was the kindest soul. And oh my gosh, I could go on and on about just him. And what blew me away the most was that he ended up asking for my email and was checking on me to see how surgery went and how I was feeling. And he sent a gorgeous bouquet of flowers to my home for surgery to say that he was thinking of me and pulling for me. And it was just over and above what I have ever experienced with any artist. And we stayed friends. We emailed, he'd check on me. How's everything been? How are you feeling? And I actually emailed back and forth with him a little bit when I started this podcast because I wanted to have him on as a guest because he's just, you'd love him. I mean, to spend a little bit of time with him, he's just a remarkable human. He's also very private though, so I figured he wouldn't come on, but, maybe someday. Yeah, that's for sure the artist that surprised me the most with having a great heart. Thank you for asking that question because that's such a fun thing for me to think back on. I mean, obviously not the cancer part of it, but just the time that I had getting to know him. He's a very special human. Darlene wants to know, I've been following your journey and I'm so impressed. Oh, aren't you the sweetest? Darlene, thank you. Through your career, what was the most surreal moment for you? So, the Steve Harry part, very surreal. I remember being at the station one day, the radio station one day, and Bono and U2 walked in, like, walked down the hall. And I was like, "Oh my god." And I introduced myself, and he's like, "Oh, you got some Irish in you, do you?" Just really cool. So laid back. Do you know who you are? It was that was pretty surreal, just having him in the same studio. I'm never in the right place at the right time, and I wasn't the one that was gonna get to interview them, so it was really cool that it happened while I was in the building, and I got to literally walk up and shake his hand. That was neat. I will say that a surreal moment that still takes my breath away. Right before my last chemo appointment, we had a Mix Fest concert, and I dressed in my Wonder Woman costume, but the Mac Daddy one, the one from the movie, and I had my fake sword and shield, and on the shield, I had put stickers that said, "Last Chemo Monday," and I had to get up and introduce a band, and it was the first time that day that I had gotten on stage, and when I walked out in my costume, holding that sword and the shield that said "Last Chemo Monday," everyone in that audience stood up and clapped for me, and I still get choked up when I think about it because that love and that support, every listener that was there was standing up and cheering, and I love you all, and I think of that moment and it blows me away. That love, that kindness, that support. And I've said it before, but I believe this so wholeheartedly. I wish that everyone could feel the outpouring of love that I felt throughout cancer. It's something that I feel like most people only get to experience at their own funeral looking down from heaven or something, where all these people that you weren't sure even maybe thought much of you or noticed you are pouring out their hearts about how you influenced them or inspired them or what. And the stories that I heard from people and the love that I felt during my treatment was overwhelming. And standing there with that shield, bald as can be, and having everyone on their feet was a moment I will never forget and could never say thank you enough for because it carried my spirit big time. Okay, didn't mean to get sad. Lynn messaged me on Facebook with this. Did you ever have a crazy encounter with a listener when you were in radio? Oh, oh, Lynn, how much time you got, girl? Did I ever have a So, I'm putting aside the stalkers and restraining orders that I had to get, and yes, I had to get more than one throughout my career, which I don't really understand because I'm not a controversial person, never have been, but I attract some crazies and always have. I could go down my dating avenue, but that's an entirely different subject. So, yeah, that the stalker thing, we'll put that to the side. The craziest experience probably that I had with a listener when I was in radio. Oh, it was a concert that the radio station was doing, and Chris Daughtry, his band Daughtry, was playing. I had a listener, no lie, see me walking around with my all access pass, came over to me and said, "I have a question for you." And I go, "Okay." She's like, "Will you give my panties to Chris Daughtry?" That's a mic drop moment right there. And I go, "He's married." Like, first of all, I don't want to touch anybody else's underwear. But the first thing that came out of my mouth was, "He's married." And she's like, "So?" And I said, "I'm not giving your underwear, your panties to Chris Daughtry. No. No, 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 no. These are things you do not do ever, Like, that was not on my bingo card of things that would happen to me when I was a teenager thinking about getting into radio. Yeah, no, no. So I don't know if Chris ever did end up with those. It certainly didn't come from me if he did. But that was the craziest encounter because to this day, still can't believe that a grown woman wanted me to give her underwear to somebody. This was somebody I didn't know, by the way. I didn't even know her name, never met her before. Can you give my, and the worst part was something was in her hand. And I'm guessing it was indeed the aforementioned panties. Whatever. I didn't touch them. Don't know what happened to her. God bless. Trisha, how are you feeling from your breast cancer diagnosis? Huh. It's interesting, Trisha. I'm talking about things that happened during it here because of questions and memories and things, but I don't ever think about it. It was 8 years ago, and I don't think about it. I see the scars every day, obviously, anytime I'm showering or changing or whatever, but it's just never, ever something that's on my radar. I'm not going to spend whatever time I have worrying about it because I worry about enough stupid crap that I'm not going to give Big C that time of day in my head. But I'm doing great. I still have neuropathy in my fingertips. I'll always have that because they say whatever you have neuropathy wise within a year of the chemo being done, you're probably going to have forever. And my feet, I have neuropathy pretty bad in my left foot, like a third of it is pretty numb, and my toes get numb and stuff. But whatever. That's the worst thing that happens. And I ended up getting new boobs, a little bit bigger than the old ones. That was for the husband, and all courtesy of insurance. So I look at the bright side of it, and I'm doing really well. But thank you so much for asking. That was super kind of you. Oh, last question. This is Tracy. With all of your experiences and with all of the amazing guests you've had, what is the one small shift somebody could make today that would have the biggest impact on their life? What a great question. Wow. I would say, and this is something that I've learned from talking to all these people, is that if you have an idea of wanting to help or wanting to start maybe a nonprofit or an organization or something that you feel like is really deep rooted in you, that you want to help and you wish you could find a way, find it, do it. Because your brain will go into the negative mode of what could go wrong and how unlikely it is that this will be successful and all that. You can talk yourself out of almost anything. But what I would say is think of all the good things that could happen. Think of what could go right. Every single organization, nonprofit, etc., that's ever been started, every business started with one idea. And you could end up really making the world a better place, like every one of my guests is doing. And I'm so inspired by every single one of them that I don't want you to keep something that's really in your heart to do. I don't want it to stay there. I want it to be shared. So that is what I would say that I've learned and that I think would have a massive impact on your life. Like this is a huge impact on my life. This podcast is joy for me. This is joy. And it's my legacy now. When I am long gone, I'm going to make sure that all things are set up so this can continue to roll. So whoever finds it, maybe it'll make their day a little better, uplift them. And I love everything about it. So that's what I would say. Don't keep that idea to yourself because the world needs more of those great ideas to be put into action. And that's everything. Those are the questions. Thank you so, so much for taking the time to do that. I have had a blast just telling the stories, and hopefully you've gotten to know me a little bit better and you're going to stick around. I so appreciate you. You check out my new renovated website. Very proud of that. I'm now going to go get some sleep because Lord knows I need it. But it's ErinO'Malley'sfrequency.com, ErinO'Malley'sfrequency.com. You can email me on that as always. And that is exactly where I need you to go to tell me about somebody that you know that's making the world better, maybe even you. And I'd love to have you on the Feel Good Frequency. Thanks for being here. Have a fantastic week.